There are realtors that do a very good job that just function out of one condo building. They live in that condo building.
Yep.
They have every single listing in that building, and they can make a living off one building. That's where, and also I told people before that as a lawyer, I very often get introduced through the realtor. So I appreciate that very much and the referral. But I tell them the problem is when they come to do their next transaction, they're doing it with me, but they're not doing it with the same realtor.
How often do you see that?
All the time.
You do.
All the time.
Yeah.
And I often ask the client, what happened? Was it a bad
Yeah.
experience? What was going on? Because I remember who came through where. They said to me, so I bought with them and I bought a condo in Toronto. Now I'm buying a house in Oakville. So I naturally went to an Oakville realtor and
So it wasn't because they had a bad experience necessarily. The perceptions was I should go to an Oakville realtor.
and they had a captive audience. They had their client base, but they did not educate their clients what they can do. And they didn't do the follow-ups. And that's what scares me in sales. Again, if we're talking about sales, client service, I think that once a person's working, it's not selling to them. Like I tell my clients all the time, oh, I also do wills and estates because guess what? You're going to need a power of attorney. You need a will. It's a good idea when you're buying your home, when you're having a baby, when it's your last home. You need to think about these things. And it's a natural progression. They're like, oh, thank you for offering that service. If I was a realtor, I would sure let people know I am in these territories. I can help you. Anything you're doing in real estate, give me a call. I'm your person. Like back in the day, Sam, when we're looking back in the history books of the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, person had their professional. That was their professional. That was their lawyer. That was their realtor. That was dentist. And there was loyalty. We're sitting here in the year 2023. It ain't the same anymore. People will change in a moment. And that's where I think that a lot of professionals don't realize if you don't build those relationships and you don't take care of them and nurture them, they'll be gone in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So I think it's incumbent upon us to be in constant touch with our clients, etc. Because I'll tell our team members, oh, they just listed and sold somebody else. I said, when was the last time you talked to them? Oh, when they bought it. I said, listen, they don't owe you loyalty. You need to be in constant communication and show them that you care. Because a lot of times people think, okay, I just did the transaction, let's move on. That's not. It's relationship building is exactly bang on, right? And I think that's what people have to really aspire to think about doing on a day in, day out basis, because at the end, really, you work so hard to get that client. So why do you let them walk out the back door? Do everything you can to keep those clients. And there's so many things you can do to show that you care. And if you do that, and if you still do all the right things, and they decide they're going to go elsewhere, well, hey, I did everything I could. So if they decide to be not overly loyal, I don't feel bad. I feel bad because they did that, but I took the steps that shouldn't have been able to act in that fashion.
Now let's talk reality, because being based in Toronto, GTA, Ontario, we're in a very competitive sphere. In realtors, lawyers, there's a lot of competition out there. There's lots of different people, professionals people can work with. When I look at your brokerage and I'm thinking about this, you have a lot of realtors that join the team. I've read about the selection process. You don't just take anybody off the street. You're very, very picky about who you work with. And on that same token of it, people know, like a lot of realtors, I don't know which brokerage they're with. They may have been through 5 different brokerages and I just know the name, but I don't even know which brokerage they're with. When you're with Sam McDaddy, we know you're with Sam McDaddy. That's very, very clear. What is the process to attract realtors? What is the process you would say of why clients pick your brokerage over so many others available to them?
We're not really ever actively looking for realtors. So they come and find us, right? So it's a little different model for us. And our brokerage is a little bit different in that it's really a team within a brokerage. It's not every person fends for themselves. So typical brokerage, you join the brokerage, you find your own leads, you find your own way, etc. With us, it's completely different. I mean, it's a team. So if somebody says, I want to join Sam McDaddy Real Estate, and I want to do my own thing and not be part of the team, well, that doesn't work for our model. So you're all part of the team, right? So, and I think with that comes camaraderie, synergy. We're doing brainstorming, we're masterminding, we're vacationing together. So it's like second family. And I think that's really important. So all of them have gone to my Florida house. We take them down and we kind of make sure they get a really good first-class treatment and all the above. And we're building relationships. So just like when you're building with clients, I'm building with my team as well to make sure they know that I really care about them. And I do, and I'd be there with them for anything, right? So I think that part, but when we do find people that want to join the team, and we get probably 2 or 3 applications daily, and we just typically, politely decline saying, we appreciate your interest in joining the brokerage, but we're running at full capacity. But if somebody comes to us because they're referred to us, then we'll interview. And if I like what I hear, then I'll have what I call the quasi board of directors come in, 3 or 4 other realtors, and they can ask any questions of one another so that they know what they're walking into, so that hopefully if we do decide to move forward on both sides, it's going to be a good fit, right? But we're not, if I want to be 500 strong as a brokerage, I could be, but then it would dilute what I really want to do in our vision of how we want to run our brokerage.
And look, not everybody is prepared to do that model, right? Because a lot of people are chasing the almighty buck. Like
Yeah.
you're leaving a lot of money on the table by not taking on certain applicants, but with your bigger vision of it, and I respect that heavily. It's, you ever heard of that equation that 10% of your problems are going to give you 90% of your headaches at the end of the day? Like if you get like the 10% worst people in your lives that are causing you all the stress and what be it, if they're gone, things will be much easier. I often ask other professionals, I said, think about this. Think about the teammates you pick to work with. Think about the clients you choose to work with. If you're just taking anybody and everybody and you see red flags ahead, you see, as my therapist would say, the dark alley thoughts. You see the dark alleys, it's coming, but you're still prepared to go down that dark alley. Nothing good is going to come of it, but it's amazing me how many people are still prepared to go down those dark alleys because they're saying, maybe it'll be different. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I can fix this. Why do you think people do that? Is it just pure greed, or what is it, or scared, or
I'm not really clear. For me, I was very clear that I want to align myself with really good quality people because there's a reflection of us, and it was quality over quantity, and that was the key piece for us. It wasn't about just being this huge entity. And there's a lot of brokerages that have hundreds and hundreds of agents, but I mean, they're not productive. They might even get themselves in hot water because they don't know the business that well.
part-timers?
Exactly. So they're not, because really this business is a full-time business, right? So do it part-time, you're doing your client a disservice. But therein lies the rub. If your brothers are a realtor, he's part-time, but if you don't list with him, Sunday dinners are very difficult. So you're almost compelled to or forced to list with somebody you may not want to, may not get you the best result. So it's a bit of, it's interesting because there's 70,000 realtors on the board, which is probably too many, right? I mean, that's a lot of realtors, right? So,
Yeah, but out of 70,000, probably 100 are doing all the deals. Like
yeah,
it feels like it,
yeah.
like
I
at a
mean,
time, or
it's
200.
it's a pretty skewed curve, right? So,
Right.
yeah.
But that's where it is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it's how serious you're going to put into. At the end of the day, you're going to get what you put into it. And I think a lot of people go into real estate saying it's an easy business, don't have to do much, and the money's just going to roll in. And I tell realtors all the time, I have this debate all the time between myself, a realtor, a mortgage broker, when we're discussing this. And I said, the person who has the hardest job is the realtor because they're creating something out of nothing at the end of the day. Very often the realtor is referring to lawyer, referring to mortgage broker, but it's the realtor that's creating that client out of nothing. And I have a lot of respect for that. So being able to do cold calling, being able to network, being able to find clients, that is a skill in itself. And again, it starts from our beginning of our conversation. It's relationships. It all comes down to relationships. You have in your offices over 25 languages spoken.
Yes.
Wow. So it's the United Nations here, basically.
Pretty much.
So we're going to talk about building relationships and communication. You've obviously thought of that because how are you going to be able to communicate if you don't understand the dialect? So there's very few dialects in the GTA area that you're not going to cover. Somebody will be able to work with them more than likely.
So we have this slogan, we speak your language. So if somebody comes to us and they're just new to the country and they don't speak English very fluently and they speak Cantonese, Russian, German, Italian, Punjabi, whatever, we've got it all covered off, right? And it's been really advantageous. It's really worked well for us because we are, we've understood and embraced the fact we're a multicultural city, right? So to ignore that would be a mistake.
1,000%.